I used to say silly things like, where are all the good men at? Until I started taking accountability. Now I know I'm just an ain't shit ass bitch.
Maybe I am the problem.
Maybe I am the problem.
Maybe I am the problem.
Brought to you by
47, single, divorced, more than once. Just trying to see if I can find my person.
Am I the only person, like, completely struggling? Am I the only one? Because I've been single a very long time.
Being alone, having no one there to talk to as you age, no kids.
I want to be a boss. I want to be independent. I don't need a man. I can do this all on my own.
I just found out today that my ex-husband is engaged and I'm unwell.
You know, women have had battery-powered boyfriends for years. Stop crying.
How much are they?
So a robot like Melody is $150,000, and that's fully AI capable and customized. We can actually make the robot look like anything you want. You can come to us and say, we would like to give us a picture.
Before we dive in, drop a comment. Are modern men more delusional, or is it the ladies? Hit like and subscribe so you don't miss what we expose next. Let's hit 1 million subscribers. You know women have had battery-powered boyfriends for years. So why the sudden tears when technology finally starts giving men an alternative? Let's be real. Men have been quietly watching the market flood with toys, gadgets, and entire industries built to replace male intimacy. Nobody staged a protest. Nobody called it oppression. Men just shrugged, laughed it off, and kept moving. But now the AI girlfriends and hyper-realistic models are starting to give men a similar escape. Suddenly it's a crisis. Suddenly it's bad for society. Why is it empowering when women do it, but dangerous when men do the same? That's the double standard no one wants to admit. This isn't just about toys or tech. It's about control. For decades, culture told men to accept being replaced. Now the tables are turning, and some women are realizing that attention, male time, energy, and resources was never guaranteed. And that reality stings. Maybe the real fear isn't the robots. Maybe it's the fact that men finally have options that don't require bending to unreasonable demands.
So a robot like Melody is $150,000, and that's fully AI capable and customized. We can actually make the robot look like anything you want. You can come to us and say, we would like to give us a picture of someone, and we can make that robot customized to you, and we can customize the AI so that it knows exactly what you want it to know. So it can learn about your company, it can learn about your product,
Okay.
or it can be your girlfriend.
Are we going to be like, this is my God, this is my family member?
Well, you could. We always say you can take our robots as a date to a wedding. We have this here on display for people to touch, so you can give that a feel and see how that feels. These faces are all modular, so we could actually take the faces off Melody and Aria, throw this one on top. It's all magnetized or special technology. Press a button, and then you have a different robotic character. This allows us to provide flexibility for our clients. If they change their minds and they want a different character, we can design a different face for them, and then they can add that on very easily.
Are they easy to swap? How long does it take to swap?
It takes about 10 seconds. You just peel it off and then put the other one on. It's our patent.
If these robots keep evolving, and let's be honest, they will end if the price tag drops to where the average guy can afford one. The game completely changes. Think about it. For generations, women have held the leverage in dating. Men had to earn attention, prove value, and compete for limited access. But technology is rewriting those rules in real time. When men can get companionship, conversation, and even affection from something that doesn't argue, doesn't flake, and doesn't demand a six-figure salary. What happens to the traditional bargaining power? Suddenly, the pressure to settle for bad treatment or unrealistic standards disappears. And here's the bigger picture. This isn't just science fiction anymore. Every new AI update, every improvement in robotics is another step toward a world where men can simply opt out. No games, no ultimatums, no fear of rejection. That's why you're starting to hear panic in these conversations. It's not about robots taking over. It's about men realizing they finally have choices. Choices that force a hard question. If a machine can treat a man better than a human partner, what incentive does he have to keep playing by the old rules?
Was wild. Wait till you hear about the cyberbrothels in Berlin, where men are literally lining up to sleep with robots. Yep, robots. This isn't an episode of Black Mirror. It's happening right now, and it's a terrifying glimpse into the future. In Berlin, actual establishments called cybrothels are opening their doors, offering men companionship with AI-powered, anatomically correct dolls. They don't speak, they don't argue, they don't have needs. They're just cold, programmable, and built to serve on demand. Let that sink in. For 80 to 120 euros an hour, you can rent a synthetic woman. Customized to your preference: blonde, brunette, petite, curvy, silicone or thermoplastic elastomer. They even let you pick the personality. This isn't just creepy, it's the ultimate fantasy of control, where women are reduced to literal objects and men are encouraged to bypass empathy, effort, and connection altogether. And let's be clear, this isn't just about sex, it's about the death of intimacy. This is about men choosing to opt out of reality, to retreat into a fantasy where women exist to be programmed, not respected. No rejection, no boundaries, no humanity. And the longer they stay in that world, the less equipped they are to exist in ours. This isn't the future. This is the collapse of manhood disguised as convenience. Berlin's cyber brothels are just the beginning. What happens when boys grow up believing that love is transactional and consent is optional as long as you pay for it? What happens when the most intimate act becomes completely mechanical? And if you think this won't spread beyond Berlin, think again. Tech is fast and morality, that's slow. We need to talk about what happens when men stop needing women and start replacing.
If you can't even compete with a plastic doll, that's not a robot problem, that's a you problem. Let's call it what it is. For years, the complaint was, men won't leave us alone. Men are always chasing. Men need to respect boundaries. Fair enough. But now that some men are choosing technology over the constant chase, suddenly it's, why don't men approach anymore? Why aren't they trying? Do you see the contradiction? First, men are shamed for bothering women. Then, when men stop bothering women, they're shamed for not bothering women. It's a lose-lose game that reveals something uncomfortable. A lot of the power was never about love. It was about attention. Attention has been the hidden currency. It's validation, status, proof of desirability. When men redirect that energy, whether it's to robots, hobbies, or just self-improvement, it exposes who was really bringing value to the table. This isn't about men abandoning women. It's about men refusing to play a rigged game. And if a piece of plastic can highlight that truth so clearly, maybe it's time to stop blaming the men and start asking why the competition even feels threatened in the first place.
Went viral like 2 days ago about humanoid AI robot girlfriends. I don't know if you guys saw this on Instagram and TikTok, but there are companies making robots that look like humans that are programmed by AI and they can talk to you. And it's very freakishly real. And they're selling them mostly to young men as AI girlfriends. And this has already been a thing in the market without the body.
Like robots,
I was gonna say this,
or like just on the
without
screen?
the robots, it's already been a thing. This has been a very lucrative business for the last several years.
That's going to be a problem, especially for men that don't know how to speak to girls.
It's further isolating them, right? It's further removing them from our shared humanity, which we need to survive.
Also, it's like the compromising goes away. We're like super lucky, but we're very united on a lot of things. But normally, people would have to like, all right, well, she likes to do this, and well, so I'll do it because I love her. That will go out the window because you're like, my AI doesn't like to do that.
Yeah,
she likes to do exactly what I like
well,
to do.
you could just reprogram her, right? Which
you can reprogram her too, just like a little quick.
If you've been married and you walk away thinking you don't even believe in shared humanity anymore, that says a lot about where modern relationships are headed. Marriage used to be the ultimate partnership. Two people building a life, sharing burdens, and creating something bigger than themselves. But today, too many people walk out of that contract feeling like they've been through a cold business deal instead of a bond of love. Why? Because the system around marriage has shifted. Instead of unity, it often feels like a scoreboard. Who's doing more? Who's winning? Who's getting the better end of the deal if things fall apart? When the focus turns to leverage and exit strategies, it chips away at trust until the whole idea of we're in this together starts to feel like a fairy tale. So when someone says marriage killed their faith in shared humanity, It's not just bitterness, it's a reflection of how transactional relationships have become. Too many couples treat marriage like a competition instead of a collaboration. And when that collapses, it's hard not to look at people differently. Maybe the real question isn't why they lost faith. Maybe it's why we keep pretending that the modern marriage model still guarantees connection, when for so many, it's become a crash course in how fragile human bonds can be. Picture the final product of this trend for a second. We're not talking about clunky, cartoonish gadgets anymore. We're talking about lifelike companions that talk, learn, and adapt like a real partner. Smooth skin, human-like expressions, personalized attention, zero drama. Now pair that with AI that remembers every preference, every conversation, every mood swing, and never uses it against you. That's where this is headed. And here's the kicker. Once these things become mainstream and affordable, the dating market as we know it changes forever. Because how do you compete with a partner who never rejects, never manipulates, never threatens to leave, and is literally programmed to meet your needs? It forces an uncomfortable question, one that society isn't ready for. If technology can give someone the companionship they crave without the risk, conflict, or emotional games, why would they willingly return to a system where love feels like a gamble? The final product isn't just a robot, it's a mirror reflecting every unrealistic expectation, every double standard, and every failure to create relationships worth staying in. And when that mirror arrives, a lot of people are going to have to face truths they've been avoiding for decades.
This is not a human. It's a robot.
She only suddenly have a headache when the subscription runs out. And that one line exposes an entire economy of modern relationships. Think about it. A robot doesn't withhold affection to punish you. It doesn't play games to get more attention, gifts, or leverage. It doesn't wait until the bills are paid before deciding if you're worthy of intimacy. The only time it says no is when you stop paying the subscription. And isn't that revealing? In the human dating world, too many connections already operate like hidden subscription plans. Men invest time, money, and effort just to keep access to effectual affection that can be pulled away the moment expectations aren't met. The robot just makes the transaction obvious. That's the uncomfortable truth no one wants to admit. The AI girlfriend isn't creating a new problem. It's exposing the old one. It's holding up a neon sign that says, if love feels like a paywall, maybe it was never love to begin with. So when people laugh at the idea of a subscription-based partner, they're missing the bigger point. The joke isn't about robots. The joke is how closely this mirrors the way some modern relationships already work.
First realistic female robot assistant.
I'm the first personal assistant built by CyberLife. I take care of most everyday tasks like cooking, housework, or managing your appointments, for example.
And I understand you're the first android to have passed the Turing test. Could you tell us a little more about that?
I really didn't do much, I just spoke with a few humans to see if they could tell the difference between me and a real person. It was a really interesting experience.
This whole conversation, it's actually a clip from the video game Detroit, Become Human. But that's exactly what makes it so powerful. Because even though it's fiction, it's starting to look less like science fantasy and more like tomorrow's headlines. Think about it. A few years ago, lifelike AI companions were pure entertainment, just plot devices in a game. Now we have chatbots holding full conversations, robots with human facial expressions, and tech companies racing to build machines that can learn your personality in real time. The line between play and reality is already blurring. That's why this what if hits so hard. It's not just a story about androids, it's a preview of where human relationships might be headed if technology keeps accelerating. And the possibilities aren't just about cool gadgets, they're about power shifts. If companionship, intimacy, and emotional connection can all be simulated on demand, what happens to the social rules we've lived by for centuries? Detroit Become Human was meant as a warning, but if you look around, It's starting to feel like a roadmap. The question isn't whether the tech will exist, it's whether we'll be ready for the cultural earthquake it brings when fiction finally catches up to reality.
Of many AI robots that will replace women in the very near future for the most important need that men have. Now, does she sound very cold and robotic and have a bitch resting face? Yes, but that means that they've already made them as good as Russian women. But technology is moving very, very fast. Not only these AI robot girlfriends will become more and more realistic and human-like, they already have a lot of features that men really miss in modern women, like the lack of attitude and entitlement. So these are already better than American women. And modern women already have very little to offer to men besides sex, that if sex is now not something that men would need the women for, boy, they're going to be in a lot of trouble. Now, I know what a lot of modern women would say to this. Well, Alex, they can make male robots too. I don't think they can when it comes to the things that women need from men. Though they probably would be able to help these women adopt some cats and refill their antidepressant prescription. But for the main things that usually men are providing for women in relationships, I think it's going to be a while when a robot would be able to do that. But listen, the fact that we're even talking about this is a problem. And I would rather fix what's been going between men and women rather than essentially give up on human relationships altogether and succumb to the technology for the things that really we're all have been put on this earth for, whether you believe in God or Darwin or whatever. But if you do want to bypass this amazing AI advances and actually be in a country where there's still some good traditional women left that you can date and marry, well, do what I do. Ditch those modern American and Western women and come to a country in Southeast Asia or another traditional country in South America or even Africa. And if you want to even start thinking about it, go to themillionmenproject.com, where I have outlined exactly how you, and even an average American guy, can do it in just 2 to 3 months if you do it right. And hopefully one day I will see you here in Southeast Asia or wherever place you choose where we don't need the AI robots yet.
No attitude, no entitlement, no delusions. When you hear it laid out like that, it almost sounds tempting, doesn't it? Now imagine a companion that not only recognizes your moods, but can literally change her face to match the behavior you prefer. If she gets mad, you can simply remove the face and take a break. Here's where it gets even wilder. For $175,000, you can buy a model that talks. For $185,000, you can buy one that doesn't, and people joke that's still a bargain compared to the lifetime price tag of marriage, divorce, alimony, an endless compromise, especially when you factor in the built-in mute button. But here's the real punchline. The appeal isn't just the technology, it's what the technology reveals. When men start calculating the cost of peace of mind versus the cost of a relationship, it's a sign that something in our culture has broken. This isn't about running away from women, it's about running away from chaos. If a man is willing to spend a small fortune for quiet, respect, and reliability, maybe the problem isn't the robot. Maybe it's the world that made silence feel like a luxury.